like it's the most basic scam in the world. If you fall for it, then it's a lesson you kind of had to learn, or it's something that you needed to be taught. I mean, they literally dropped the prices of their signal grooms and stuff like that to meet people's like flipping welfare grants. Like, how on earth is that? Like, now that's predatory. You're actually making it harder for yourself by joining signal rooms. Even though it's easier initially, you're making it harder for yourself. Even if you find the one that is profitable, still making it harder for yourself. Yeah. People conflate like the people that are lifestyle marketers with traders. They may as well be promoting Herbalife. It's the same thing, you know. They're
it's
affiliate
just a different
marketers.
Product.
Yeah. It's just a different product. They probably know less about trading than they do about Herbalife.
All right, guys, another episode here with 2Gs and Co podcast with myself and my co-host Keegan van Dijk.
What's up, Chad?
And today we've got a very special guest. We traveled all the way to the mother city in Cape Town, and you guys were wondering. We said it's a big one in the industry, and
this is one I'm also personally being excited for this one.
I'm very excited for this one, Chad. And to my right, your left, we've got Ethan Garland.
And his name is Ethan Garland. Guys, I've been waiting for that. That video is still one of the sickest videos ever.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Ethan, thanks so much for joining us. And just the way when Keegan approached Ethan, he literally said, guys, name a place, a time, I'll be there. And that's awesome. Coming from a fellow trader and somebody we look up to, and we're gonna chat about quite a few things. But Ethan, for the guys that are maybe new to the industry and maybe like some of the old hands, if you can just introduce yourself, give us a little bit of a background on yourself, and I think we're gonna kick it off right there.
Right. Yeah, I'm Ethan Garland. I have a YouTube channel. That's where probably, if you've ever heard of me, you probably heard of me from. And yeah, I've been trading for about almost 5 years now. Took me a really long time to get profitable, like most profitable guys do. And essentially just held on until I made it there. And I kind of try to document my journey to some degree on YouTube. A lot of the I only started towards the end, so there was a lot of, failures, there was a lot of successes, but I'm at a point now where I can quite comfortably say that trading's put me in a place of complete and utter, just absolutely not needing to ever worry about having to work a normal job ever again, which is, what we always set out to do. I did all of the worst jobs you can imagine. The worst ones you can imagine. If you mention it, I've probably done it. And I was a zero to hero story. I know there's a lot of them out there, but I really jumped from nowhere to somewhere good pretty quickly, which is great. And I did it all before social media as well, which is also a nice thing as well. People are very quick to criticize people on social media, but they don't look at the nuances of what actually, being a social media influencer in the trading space is, because there are people that are talking absolute nonsense at the end of the day. There are, but there are nuances. Not everybody is a complete scam artist. Not everybody is, a complete honest person either. So you have to look at it from that point of view, and you just want to make sure you are looking towards the people that are leaning towards the more honest side. I think that there's a lot of people in the industry that just make it look bad, really bad. And a lot of people have been fooled so many times that they immediately come into this industry with a attitude of, I'm just waiting to be scammed. And they're looking for scams where there aren't scams. And that's just coming from my side in terms of being a content creator, because that's one of the biggest criticisms I get is, you're just trying to make content. You're just trying to make money off of views. And I'm like, dude, do you know how little money I get from views? Like, I can't even tell you. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's both trading and content creation are very alike. We were just talking about it. But essentially, you've just got a strategy and you stick to it and you just keep consistently doing the same thing week in and week out, and that's it. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy both creating content, because I was once the one consuming the content, and I still consume content around trading. And I believe that was key to me being successful. It can also be detrimental to your success in trading, the way that you consume content, because it can also
too much.
It can almost be like a form of like mental masturbation, essentially, because you're like getting this like false high of success from watching other people be successful. Your brain can't distinguish between this is something that I've done and I'm just watching what other people have done. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are looking for that escape of, oh, this is great, I'm watching other people do this thing, but you're not doing it yourself. You know? So sometimes it can be both it can be a double-edged sword. It can be bad and good. But yeah.
Quick one, Ethan. So you currently reside in Cape Town. Were you always from Cape Town, or were you born in another province, or were you here all your life in Cape Town?
Yeah, so I'm from Durban originally. I moved here probably about 6 or 7 years ago. That was before I started trading. So I lived in Durban for a while. My parents moved here about 6 or 7, 8 years ago. And then I stayed behind. I was probably in my very early 20s. And I was working, a retail job. I started off selling TVs and laptops at Dion Wired, who is no longer around. And I worked retail hours, like literally 12-hour shifts every day. And I did pretty well actually in sales, funnily enough. I like, marketing and sales and that kind of stuff. My mom's always been good at sales and really marketing herself very well. She taught me that from a young age. But essentially, I did that for quite a while, from probably when I was 19 till probably about 23. I worked for a vape company for like 2 years in retail, basically retail sales. That was pretty much where I ended things off. I lived with my grandparents for a while. I then moved, I then pretty much dropped everything and I moved to Cape Town to be with my parents after that, after living on my own in Durban for a while. And then after that, I went through a pretty rocky place in my life because I was working a full retail job. I worked in a cell phone store and I sold cell phones, and that was it. And it was in a small village near here called Hermanus. I worked with old people exclusively, basically, who knew nothing about cell phones. And they didn't want to buy very expensive cell phones either, so I didn't make a ton of money. It's a beautiful place. A lot of people move there and retire there. It's probably one of the most beautiful places in South Africa. But yeah, it was very difficult for me, and that was around when I started, when I started learning trading. I did all of the things before then. I did, online marketing. I did drop shipping. I did email marketing. I did, pretty much everything you can imagine. I did media agencies. I tried all of them. Nothing worked. And I mean,
where did you see trading? Was it something that popped up? Where did that seed start? Was it somebody that introduced you?
I always knew about it. I saw this young kid do it. He wasn't necessarily big on social media. He was just like a friend of mine, and he was doing well. And I was like, okay, cool. I know it's risky and stuff like that. That's cool. But I essentially first jumped into trading stocks. That was where I started learning, and I was like, okay, cool, but I'm a little bit screwed here. I don't have $30,000. I can't get over the pattern day trading rule. I'm not going to be able to open up a Klaus Schwab account, and I'm screwed, So I literally just waited for, I just kept studying that, even though I couldn't trade physically. I just paper traded. And it was okay, but I couldn't actually execute. And then I saw people trading Forex, but I was like, listen, I'm not about to jump into that. That cannot be a legit thing. The people that are marketing this Like, I cannot see that being a legit thing. And then I heard other people doing it, and I met one or two people that were trading like Forex, and they were completely away from, social media and that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, so potentially it's legit. Then I discovered like how accessible it was. And that's, I think, what draws a lot of people into trading Forex is how accessible, like CFD brokers and stuff like that are, because you can just deposit $100 or whatever and trade, which of course makes it open to just pure gambling at the end of the day, which is where the dangerous part comes. And that's started my journey of 3 years of just losing money. A ton of money. Pretty much anything that I had went into either education or my account, which didn't work out. But I knew there was a way, and I was going to figure it out. But I think everybody has that period of like just stuffing around for like 2 years or whatever,
figuring it out,
basically trying to stop being a gambler, basically, and being more methodical about the way that you do it. I mean, how long are you going to keep hitting your head against the wall before you try and do something different? And then, obviously at first you're greeted by like people just flipping accounts like hardcore, and you're like, surely that's not sustainable. Immediately I'm like, there's something wrong. Like that can't be, they either got like some kind of crazy secret, or it's absolute BS.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense to me. And so eventually I started learning from, I would say, more international influences, and the way that, I learned from people in the UK, and I was just like, listen, this seems much more doable. I can make a few % a month. That's cool. That's all I wanted. That seems doable. But like flipping your 100 Rand into 10,000 Rand every month, that's not going to happen. And that's all you see really. And so that's what you think is the reality. And you're kind of just like, how do people fall for this kind of stuff? Because I could immediately see through it. But at the same time, you kind of want to believe,
Sorry, my thing was, in all of that, like for you, was there, we always talk about like people wanted that golden nugget.
Mm-hmm.
What was that thing? Like you kept on saying like you knew there was a way, but what was it that changed it for you? Of, like you said, that 2-3 years of losing the whole time to where you started seeing that switch.
So there's a couple of things. I discovered the first thing before that, and that was just simply, having a actual realistic approach to trading, and basically using any kind of risk management. So that's great. That's already a step in the right direction. And so I started to look at trading in a more realistic way rather than the flipping, because to switch from the gambling to trading mindset, you need to shift your view of trading, which is it's not going to make you rich overnight. It's not going to be easy. You're going to need a lot of capital to make money. That's the reality. You're not going to make money with a little bit of money. You're not. And that's what everybody sells to you. But once you realize that that's all BS, but it's not all BS. So that's the thing. And the way that I discovered that was like I met people that weren't doing any kind of marketing, but they were making tons of money from it. And I'm like, okay, so they're doing it. They're not selling anything. So surely it's possible. And so I went deeper into that. And you just have to kind of keep looking until you find the right people to follow. But then after that, the other thing that flipped it completely for me was prop firms. Without prop firms, I'd be screwed. Like I said, you're not going to make a lot of money with a little bit of money. And so that for me was the answer to that question. So I had, the strategy, which, the risk management and the mentality. But then I also had the means, which was, prop firms. And for me, again, also prop firms are a double-edged sword. It opens you up to potential gambling as well, because you are taking your small fee and trying to turn it into a big amount. But it's so much more doable because of that leverage you essentially get. And so there's lots of ways to kind of use that in your favor. And there's a lot of ways that it can be used against you.
2 questions here for me. Firstly, I've watched a lot of your content as well your strategy, is it more inclined towards, I almost want to say a ICT hybrid? Because a lot of the, let's call it the top ICT traders, all take elements of ICT's concepts and they build their own frameworks. Similar with me. Like I said, no malicious intent towards ICT, but there's certain elements. I went through all of his stuff, and there's certain elements that I used and backtested, and I was like, okay, flip. For instance, just the one being the Asia range. The majority of his trading framework revolves around the Asia range, and I was like, okay, he's putting so much emphasis on it. Let me go and test and see what the markets do around these levels. The first question is, are you purely like ICT based, or did you almost build up your own hybrid model of various concepts and put them all together?
Yeah, so basically, I never learned directly from ICT at any point. I learned from third-party content creators that created content around ICT, and I took a lot of what they learned and put that together. Now, that was how I was trading essentially, and as of recently, I've started trading a completely different higher time frame strategy, just purely to work with my day-to-day lifestyle a lot better. I mean, I'm not entering trades on the 1 minute. I'm not sitting on the chart for like 3-4 hours, just trying to make sure that I'm around when the 1 minute entry criteria happens. I'm entering on the 15 minute. That's the lowest I go in terms of time frames. But yeah, essentially, the initial strategy that really switched things for me was I started trading like small money concepts, which is essentially derived from ICT in any case. I mean, it's all just liquidity and order blocks and breaker blocks, all of that kind of stuff. It's just different terminology for the same thing, really. So I started doing that. Ran into the same issue that most people have, is they're trying to get like 1 to 100 trades every day or something stupid like that. And then you realize your win rate's going to be like minimal if you're trying to get such high risk reward. And then I discovered, like the OG kind of ICT ways of trading. And I was like, okay, this seems so much more doable. Just looking for like a 1 to 2, 1 to 3. Yeah, I'm cool with like between 30 to 50% win rate, because that's profitable. I'm just wanting to make a few percent a month. That's it. And so that was where I went. I tried to, refine it as much as I could to bring the win rate up as high as I could. And that was where I found, a lot of success. And then from there, my life started getting a lot more busy. I've got like quite a few different things that I'm running at the same time. And I was like, I need something that I can just literally look in the morning, set my alerts, and that's it. And so, yeah, I started using the strategy that wasn't developed by myself, but it works so amazingly. I've taken some flack from moving from OG ICT concepts to something created by a totally different party, and it's a completely made strategy. It's already done. But I'm not above, trading something from somebody else because it works. I'm not above like taking something from somebody else. If it works, it works. That's that's all you need to know. If you can prove it to yourself through back testing and forward testing in the live markets, then why on earth would you change something that works? Yeah.
And then the second thing I want to ask is, obviously I've seen some story posts where I've seen linked accounts. In terms of funding, what are you? And again, like the current, like you can disclose it or you don't have to, but your current, let's call it cumulative funding, what is that sitting at currently?
So as of last year, the max funding that I had was $800,000. I had that with about 3 different companies. I then made those accounts risk-free. So to get to those accounts, you're obviously going to fail a couple. I failed a couple, but I made it to 800, and then I secured all my profits on all of those. I documented quite a bit of it, and I made probably over $50,000 on those accounts. My biggest month was $18,000. That was across mostly my Blue Guardian accounts. There's a bit of drama involved in some of that. I won't disclose too much about it, but essentially one of the prop firms, not Blue Guardian, they gave me an account to trade, essentially a challenge account, and I traded it, I passed it, and they weren't so keen on letting me withdraw from it after I did, because they thought I would fail, or they thought I would pass one phase.
Fail the next.
And then, cool, that's marketing for them, and then fail the next, or I wouldn't get a withdrawal. I got the first withdrawal from them. Second withdrawal, they weren't so keen on paying me, which just goes to show. But they are kind of down in the dumps now anyway. They were one of the biggest companies, or the biggest, fastest growing companies. I'm sure a lot of you guys would know who they are if you're in the prop firm industry. They're not doing so well anymore. I won't disclose any names. But so I had 800K.
Is it a game theme?
Game theme.
The company. We will. Okay.
No.
We'll talk off camera.
We'll talk about it. But yeah, I mean, you can see it with these companies. If they're acting unethically, they kind of sow their own oats with that. You know, they know they get what they
deserve
put out
almost,
there. Yeah. But yeah, so I had those accounts, and then after I had them risk free, I was super aggressive with them, and that's how I got to kind of I had that 18K month, and then I had really good months after that. I took each account every month, and I was super aggressive. I put like 3% risk on each account, but I would trade them separately. So it's kind of similar to trading them all at like a 1% risk. But at the same time, I didn't care because I had already made my money from them, and I had already gotten my fees back.
It's risk-free, yeah.
I would have done it differently now had I known, and I probably would have been a lot more conservative to some degree on some of the accounts. But I ended up, like I said, making it to that 50K mark, and then I ended up blowing all of them at different times, but I had already squeezed what I wanted out of them. And then I used the profits from that to invest into my private accounts. And since then, I've just been trading private funds. I have undergone a new challenge to get, because I want to really make my mark on the prop firm industry and the industry as a whole. So I am currently working on about $2.6 million in challenge accounts with probably about 6 or 7 different companies. So yeah, that's what I'm working through right now, because I realized like, it's if you've got an edge, it's free money at the end of the day. If you take, well, it's not free money, there's the risk involved, but you need to
leverage that.
Exactly. I since then I enjoyed trading like my private broker accounts, just because of the no rules and the no BS from prop firms trying to not pay you out and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm not here to do stuff I'm not here to do average stuff. I really want to leverage things and move as fast as possible, which can be dangerous. But if you've got a proper plan, you can really, attack it very aggressively. And that's what I'm planning to really do. I want to, like, I've interviewed a lot of traders that have, $6-7 million in funding capital. I mean, I interviewed Andrew NFX. He's got, at the moment, over $7 million in funded capital.
But I think he also got banned from a lot of.
He's been banned from. He's been banned from FTMO. He just recently got banned from the Funded Trader. He's been banned from, Bespoke Funding, I believe, banned him, which again, not surprising.
What does it do though? That's a question. Why is it just too profitable? Is it like a risk?
He plays the numbers and he has the edge.
Okay.
And because he has the capital to get many accounts. So he just buys. He would do what a lot of people slammed him for it, but I think he's damn clever. I think that essentially what he does is he buys 5 accounts and then he will just try pass one, full port it, basically use the max without hitting the max daily and try and pass it in one trade. Then he tries to pass it again in the next trade. If he doesn't, he just goes on to the next account, and he just basically does that with as many accounts as possible. At the end of the day, prop firms aren't the same as a long-term portfolio, or if you make money doing it, that's cool. I mean, cool for him. A lot of people don't have access to as much startup capital as he does, obviously. But I think that he's onto something, to be honest. There's a reason that he's been banned from so many.
Yeah.
And it's because he's making a crap load of money.
Do you think his edge is in the strategy that he's using, or in the actual way that he approaches the challenges? Where do you think his edge lies?
Probably more in the way that he's approaching the challenges.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously you can't have a really bad edge because he's getting like 1 to 2s, and he must be at least having a 40%, win rate.
Yeah.
But if I'm correct, there was even a video, I think he spoke about it, where he said like the whole thing about him is like he's just playing the game. Like when you got a prop firm, the rules are there to make a trader fail.
Mm-hmm.
But there's almost a way where he's just approached it and said, I'm going to use your rules to make me pass.
Mm-hmm.
And because he goes so aggressive, he always said the one thing with these prop firms is they give you those high leverage amounts.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, what's the point in having it if I'm not going to use it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that aggressive approach.
At the end of the day, you have to look at, you have to know all information before you hop into this. And that's also something that changed it for me. Once you know exactly how prop firms work, you can start to kind of take advantage of that. When there are prop firms that have higher leverage, you'll see a lot of prop firms drop the leverage on like indices and that kind of stuff. And that's for a reason. And I it's interesting. I've spoken to prop firms and I've fed back directly to them. I'm like, hey, listen, yeah, I got this great withdrawal from you, but if I was you, I would potentially look at this asset class because I made $5,000 less on my account versus the other account that I was trading because I could leverage more. Like I literally made half the amount on your on this other account versus your account. I was able to make twice as much because you had more leverage available. And then they were like, okay, we'll look into that. And since then, there's been a whole bunch of props that, like, for example, on indices and stuff that moves really quickly, you'll see that they drop the leverage on that. They'll make it like 1 to 10, sometimes 1 to 20. And then, Forex is fine, like whatever. Euro USD, you just have normal like 1 to 500 leverage. But that's just because it moves slower, right? But also, there are ways to game the system and have it in your advantage. Like I'm 100% confident in the knowledge that there are ways, and I will never discuss them on a podcast, but there are ways to game the system in that if you've got enough capital, which again defeats the purpose of a prop firm, but like what Andrew NFX is doing, he's essentially just throwing a ton of money at prop firms and using the edge.
Waiting for that one.
Yes.
Home run.
But you need to do it in a very particular way. But there are ways of like very much. There's a movie that everybody should watch. It's a really good movie, even if you don't. It has nothing to do with trading. It's called Bill and Marge Go Large, and it's with Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad. And he basically plays this old man who goes, he just retires and he doesn't know what to do with his life. He was a mathematician at the cornflakes factory or something. He used to calculate the best ways for their the cornflakes to be distributed or something like that. And he's really good with numbers. And he figured out a way to basically game the local lottery. And he figured out that there was an edge that you could have if you invested a certain amount of money. If you bought, there's a certain volume of tickets that if you bought a certain volume at the certain time when the numbers roll down, which basically means that you won't win the whole lottery, but you'll win a little bit of money for getting the right numbers. If you get enough tickets at that time, you can then have an edge over the lottery. And essentially he was able to double his money every single time that he bought. He would buy like 8,000, 15,000 lottery tickets at a time. And yeah, they made millions of dollars for their like little village.
Is that a true story, or is that
it's based on a true story?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I actually do remember this. Yeah,
it's a really cool movie. But essentially, that is essentially what Andrew NFX, I believe, does. He's figured out that way, and that's why he gets banned, because he's kind of gaming the system. And again, he's bought multiple supercars with the winnings from prop firms. It's literally straight from prop firms. And I can see it. I mean, you can see the withdrawals. He's made multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars from prop firms. And I'm kind of coming to do the same thing, but I'm not going to shout about it too much before I get banned as well.
Ethan, then another one. Obviously, you've had some big names on your own podcast, and now sitting on the other side, you usually host them. How did you get about getting these bigger names in the industry? Because initially when I came across your page and I was like, cool, another South African trader, like your content. And then I was like, flip, Ethan is getting like some heavy hitters on his page. Like, how did it come about getting all these different traders on your podcast?
Basically, I just messaged a ton of people and they either responded or they didn't respond. A lot of the time I was just taking a chance. And, you know, I was lucky enough to work with a lot of people that I've looked up to for a long time. One of them being Kimmel Trading. He is really amazing. I mean, I followed him since he started with a few hundred followers. And when I was trying to figure out trading, he joined a lot of the same communities I had joined. And so he did like reviews on the communities, and you know, he really started from nothing, and now he's one of probably the fastest growing you know, trader channels, or you know, like small trader creators at the moment. And so yeah, it was great to work with him, and like you just message, and essentially I just saw what happened. I think it did help to some degree that I had some traction myself, because realistically, they're not going to want to necessarily work with you unless you've got something to offer them a little bit. But a lot of these guys they're really nice guys. I mean, Riz from Words of Wisdom as well, really nice guy. So busy, but really, really nice. Like, he really made time for me. And, you know, I flew to the UK to do podcast with him as well, which will probably be out in the next few weeks.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, that
Oh,
was
on your channel?
On his channel.
Oh, so did he interview you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
sweet.
that's why I went over there initially, and then, you know, I did podcasts with like Ken Shigbo and Arman, who's also really, really amazing. He's a really great trader. He was also on the Funded Trader podcast as well.
Ken is so I've been mates with Ken for maybe the last 3-4 years. Very, very solid guy.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, we actually laughed. He was talking about guys losing their hair.
Yeah.
And I think Words of Wisdom's got like a little bit of a I almost want to call it like this fun little channel, like a spoof channel.
Riz Burgundy.
Yeah, and then he asked Ken, Ken, is there a correlation between traders and losing hair?
Yeah.
And that's been a topic now, even in our live streams, when I look at it and I tell Keegan, I'm like, bro, like our hairlines are taking some damage.
Disappearing very quickly.
Like, there's a reason the boys go to Turkey. And I laughed because Ken also had a full head of hair.
Yeah.
And then at one stage, he shaved it all off. And the other day I said, bro, like, we need to get to Turkey. And he's like, no, bro, just embrace the baldness.
Yeah.
And but yeah, also very, very cool guy. And Words of Wisdom, actually, I told Keegan on the drive up, we were talking about like
that hustle.
Yeah, we've got like this busy schedule for the next 3 days. And I said, I think Words of Wisdom once shot like 28 podcasts in 3 days. I think it was 2 or 3 days. And I started following him when he had, I don't even want to lie, I think 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I still remember he was very consistent on his Telegram channel. Like every day he would post something. And I thought, like, flip, this guy's putting in so much effort. There's not really anything happening on his YouTube channel. And then he got to like 5K, and slowly but surely, and then all of a sudden, like that exponential growth. And like we said, that just constantly chipping away, and you get that breakthrough where the numbers start coming in. But again, it's not just 6 months, or it's not just 3 months, where a lot of, like even us, when we started off, you think like you arrived and I'm going to live stream now. I'm going to do a podcast and thousands of people are going to flock to my channel. And it's completely the opposite. It's like, 40 views. Like, damn, why did I do all of this effort for 40 views? But again, it's that like foregoing what can be if I keep at this for the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
It's 100%. I mean, one of his biggest episodes still to date was with somebody who only had a few thousand followers. He wasn't huge. And that was with NBB Trader, and he had, it's got like over 700,000 views, I think, at the moment. And I mean, he was just a good guest, It doesn't, and that's also in terms of content creation, it doesn't matter, necessarily how you're positioning it, how you're packaging your content. It's actually what's inside that matters. It's the value you're giving. And that's something that I've discovered personally. I mean, I've gone through it all, but at the end of the day, what the value you're bringing to people is actually what's important. You can make it look shiny, you can edit it like crazy, you can make your thumbnail, you can spend hundreds of dollars on your thumbnail, but at the end of the day, it's really the value you're bringing.
Yeah. So Ethan, I want to actually ask you this specifically because, like, this is something I've always said to a few guys. Is I always talk about in South Africa as traders. A lot of guys have this thing of they can make 10s, 20,000, 30,000 a month, and that's it. Like they don't see past that. Where I've always said, like, if you look at the guys overseas, there's nothing that makes them different to us. Why can we not achieve what they do? And this is where I want to now touch on this, purely because I know you've met a lot of these guys that are big names in the industries and stuff like this. Is there any of these guys on the other flip of the coin where a lot of people actually think very badly of them, that they're either scammers or they're toxic for the industry, that you've met and have actually gone around and said, I've met the guy and he's actually not what these people think they are?
So what I will say is, thankfully, I haven't really chased after too many of those guys. Like, I can understand that, like, Riz will do that, etc., and have them on because they've got the audience and that kind of stuff. Personally, like, a lot of the reason that I did podcast episodes and those kinds of things is to network with people. That was actually the value I got from it. I realized that actually, a lot of my, podcast episodes didn't do as well as the rest of the content that I had. But I've literally done like probably 3 or 4 podcasts with people that I haven't even posted. Just purely because I'm like, is it really worth my while actually editing this particular one? Maybe not. But I've networked with that person, and I ended up like literally certain aspects of my trading and life completely changed because I met that person and I became really close friends with them. One example of that is Armand Trades. I did a podcast with him in the UK, and I mean, he was on, the Funded Trader. He's probably had the longest account with the Funded Trade, the most consistent payouts probably of any prop firm trader ever, because I think he's had the Funded Trader account for almost 3 years now.
Damn,
the same
one account.
One account. I think I saw it. It's either 2 or 3 years. It's over 700
That's
days.
consistency.
Because you can see on the...
That's consistency.
As soon as he goes into drawdown, he just drops his risk, keeps dropping his risk until he recovers.
Okay.
Not increasing risk. That's also something that people have the misconception of doing. You do not increase your risk as you go into drawdown. But yeah, I mean, he's literally still got the same account that he had the day he went, to be interviewed with the Funded Trader. And I mean, he's become one of my best trading friends. I chat to him all the time, and he's changed my view of a lot of things that go on in the industry. But in terms of what you were saying with people that are maybe branded as scammers or toxic or bad for the industry, I believe that there's a lot of nuance that people don't realize is there. So what I mean by that is people often are quick to dismiss people as a scammer, and they're quick to dismiss people as just trying to make money out of marketing. But they have to understand that a lot of the time that's not the intention of these people. Look, let's not play around. There's people that are just straight up scamming, and they're straight up lifestyle scammers / influencers. They have nothing to do with trading. They know less about trading than probably...
The intent is not to help the trader.
No.
It's to line their own pockets.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like their marketing and their visuals are so primitive that it's like, if you fall for this, is it really victimization? Because it's just so basic. Like, it's the most basic scam in the world. If you fall for it, then it's a lesson you kind of had to learn, or it's something that you needed to be taught, essentially. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that they target a lot of people that do not earn a lot of money as well. And the people that maybe, struggle with, they just see the money and they immediately jump on it. And that's the worst part. I mean, they literally drop the prices of their signal grooms and stuff like that to meet people's like flipping welfare grants. Like, how on earth is that like? Now that's predatory. That's what you would call predatory. But what I will say is that there is a middle ground that people, there is a middle ground. There are people that are scamming a little. When I say scamming a little, there are some people that are like more of a market, like halfway marketing, but also have had some success at trading.
Yeah.
And there's a middle ground, but people are very quick to dismiss them as straight away having no credibility whatsoever. And there is a small kind of middle ground. And I believe a lot of these influencers have had some success that kind of started off their career in terms of trading. And they're kind of just like carrying off of that. Like maybe they had a big flip of an account and it was legit. But they've lost money since then. Yeah. But that was what maybe went viral. And now they're using that momentum.
We talked about it, and as much as people think like we against signal groups and we against mentorship and all of that, like at no stage are we against it. Our thing that we always said was like, if you put out a product, and like you also mentioned, there's a certain intent that when you put a product out, was the first thought you had in your mind, how can this help a trader? Or was your first thought of how can I scale this to make as much money as I can, get this churned out by 3,000-4,000 traders? And again, it's just purely that intent. Like if you really want to put out a good product, if you really want to do a good mentorship, don't take 2,000 people, put it out for 30 spots, do your 30 spots, give the guys the value that they deserve, because ultimately they are paying you for a service. And we've talked about it. If you're paying somebody, you expect a certain level of value, irrespective of the price. There's a certain value attached to that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but again, there needs to be a certain level. And latching onto that, you obviously having let's call it a wider reach, more into say the US market and also the European market. What would you say is the state of the current South African trading scene in terms of what you've seen lately, and where do you think we stack up against Europe and the US?
Well, look, what I'll say is that Europe and the UK are a little bit more advanced. I've seen the lifestyle marketing in UK traders. I've seen the lifestyle marketing in US traders. So they exist. It's not like they've been eradicated. But yeah, I mean, South Africa is pretty much majority just lifestyle marketing and people falling for the get rich quick kind of jump into the signals, buy now, sell now. No stop loss, no nothing. Oh, I'm buying again. Oh, I'm buying a bit lower. I'm buying a bit lower. So yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. But it's also about doing your due diligence if you know well enough. And that's also, at the end of the day, why I don't dismiss signals completely, because there are actual legit signal groups that work. Very few. Like one in a many thousand. For example, like Armand Trade Signal Group. Firstly, if you're looking to trade signals, there are a few criteria that you can actually look at to find a good signal room, but you're going to struggle to find it firstly. But you need to look for something that's like fully replicable first. You're not going to be able to make money unless you're able to take all the trades exactly the same way, with the same risk, with the same management. And if they're taking partials here, and here, then you need to be doing the exact same thing. So actually, ideally, you're looking for a signal group that does not have partial trades. You're looking for a signal group that you can copy, likely with limits or stop orders, and you're looking for a signal group that has a consistent edge, generally somewhere where you can actually trade, because if you miss a few of the trades, your numbers aren't going to play out. And so it is possible. I've known a few people that have literally, if you're looking to make that few percent per month, there are a few signal rooms that work. Again, though, you're jumping into it without the psychological buffer that you've had of the experience of trading, because you can give somebody that and it's a ready to go package, but if they don't know how to use it and how to, they're going to be closing trades early, they're going to be taking the trades that they said to cancel. You're going to be greedy, you're going to be gambling orientated, and so you can make it work, but it's a lot more difficult to work, and that's why going down the learning trading yourself route is going to be more sustainable long term, but also it's harder now, but it's going to be easier later.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm saying it's not impossible to make it work, but you're actually making it harder for yourself by joining signal rooms. Even though it's easier initially, you're making it harder for yourself. Even if you find the one that is profitable, you're still making it harder for yourself.
Yeah. So Ethan, I also want to circle back quickly to something you mentioned earlier, because this is something I actually wanted to touch on with you. And you literally were talking about perfectly where you're saying, when we talk about these scammers in the industry, it's not necessarily that they aren't 100% respectable, that they didn't do anything right, they weren't legit. A lot of these guys we've actually been talking about have been legit in the industry. You can see the work they put in, the attention they give their members. They're doing daily analysis with their guys. They do know what they're talking about when it comes to the markets. But it's almost like maybe they're going through that downslope where we all go through that little period where you are taking the losses, you're blowing accounts, you're doing whatever it is. And it's almost like now they feel that that pressure that they need to be showing something. And guys start faking withdrawals. Mm-hmm. They start faking withdrawals. They start faking these things.
A few people jump to mind.
And this is something I wanted to talk about is we don't have to name names. We don't have to go there. But there's someone I know you actually used to work with. Mm-hmm. So this is actually the first time I found out about you. You were with this person, and I'm not even sure if he still does because I haven't seen him in a while, but I know he also is associated with Blue Guardian. Mm-hmm. And he is a very big trader in the industry, very well known. And again, I actually got into trading because of him. Mm-hmm. So I do know the guy, again, does have a good history. But they get to this point where they start faking these withdrawals and they get caught out. And our thing is always, we hold people just to be transparent in the industry. Like if you got there, because like we say, maybe there was this pressure, maybe just apologize, guys, I messed up. It wasn't, I lied about it.
It's a marketing thing.
It's a marketing thing, whatever the case is. I won't let it happen again. I'll be real with you guys. And we move on. Mm-hmm. But where guys want to hold on to that and start going down that rabbit hole. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that there's a certain point where people lose sight of why they're doing this. I think that people get caught up in the lifestyle image. Maybe they want a specific car that they potentially can't necessarily afford fully. And so they decide that they want to start a signal room. They want to start a community. And they know that they've got the previous success and momentum to push them on with that. And that dies down eventually. And so that particular scenario happens. Luckily, in that scenario, I recognized what was happening and distanced myself from it accordingly as fast as I possibly could.
So you are, just to again be transparent with people, because like I said, we know you're legit. I mean, like I said, we even said we do in that aspect look up to you as a trader. Like you see that stuff where it is something you're associated with, you would distance yourself immediately from it. That's
exactly what I did. Yeah, look, I mean, I can tell straight away when people are doing things with the wrong motivation in mind. And yeah, I mean, there was some other stuff behind the scenes that happened that immediately alerted me to the fact that I need to be distancing myself from this, because this isn't the same kind of motivation that I have. At the end of the day, I'm doing this for myself, but I'm doing it to be sustainable. I'm not looking to make a big cash grab with the intention of making enough money quick to kind of buy what I want now, and in a very unethical way. So that's something that as soon as I saw the potential for that, I was like, this isn't me. And so I did that as quickly as possible. And that's also not to say that there isn't, an element of realness that was there, obviously to begin with, because that's why I was involved with that particular person. But, when you can start to see people revealing or people starting to kind of get too, in a way, greedy. I mean, you're kind of just like, you have a responsibility as somebody with influence to be as honest as possible. Because you do have the power to mislead people. And so you need to make sure that you are basically leading people the way you would want to be led. At the end of the day, it's up to the people if they want to follow you or not, but you do have a certain level of influence that you need to be responsible for.
Yeah.
My question, and I don't want to dwell on the topic too much. We don't want to look, we don't want to be those guys, But here's my thing. There was obviously one guy on Twitter, also a very well-known trader. He didn't change the QR code. Also faked a payout certificate. But here's my thing, and I want to gather your thoughts on this. If you are posting profits and you're posting withdrawal certificates on social media, obviously you are open to express that. So this trader, after questioning him, saying, listen here, you also live streamed for a bit. Very simple. Log onto your dashboard. It's going to take you 1 minute. You can even screen record it. Like, put your foot in our mouth. Log on. It's going to take you 1 minute. And then the trader would say, it's none of your business. And my thing is, if you post something on social media, it's everybody's business. So you
put it
need
out to the public.
Yeah, if I post a pic of a brand new Ferrari and I say, guys, I just bought this and I'm an influencer and somebody questions the validity of it, I can't be offended now like, oh, how dare you ask me this or that. Like, it's people's right to ask the question. Like, where... There was a time in the industry where it was almost like frowned upon. Like if I said, Ethan, okay, you've got a signals group, you do a mentorship. Can I just see like a proof of concept? Can you show me a My FX book of maybe 3, 4, 5 months? It's almost like it was this sinful thing. Like, how dare you? I've got 100,000 followers and you want to ask me for a track record. You hear what I'm saying? So what is your thought on that? Like if you post it on social media, and people question the validity, you need to back it up.
I mean, sorry, just to add to it, I mean, because you are someone that's posted like your withdrawals, and then like just to add to it, like have people ever questioned your payout certificates, and then like how did you handle that?
So not directly, because they knew that they could quite easily validate them by just simply asking the prop firm, like, did you pay him out, or et cetera, et cetera. But then there are sometimes, potential, like they're essentially saying, oh, you just work with the prop firm to market them and they just made it up. I'm like, no, you can check my bank account. But anyway, like it's one of those things. So that was the closest I got to that, was them essentially claiming that the prop firm just gave me the money to market them, which obviously isn't true. They would have preferred to not give me any extra money if they didn't have to. They were actually a little bit sad about having to pay me out so much. And after that, I was like, okay, cool, I'll slow down now, because I actually work with that prop firm, so I don't want to bankrupt them. Not saying that I could potentially, but I didn't want to take any extra money from them. I'd rather work with other prop firms because, if I'm invested with them. But essentially, I haven't got into too much, but in terms of, other influencers, yes, they should be backing up what they're saying at the end of the day or claiming, but it's also on us to kind of take things with a grain of salt. We can't force them to do it, obviously. No. But at the end of the day, I think that people just need to be smarter about it. They need to be more discerning about who they give credibility to. Yeah. Because if you're going to give credibility to this guy for getting the Ferrari without any proof that they actually did get the Ferrari, then that's on you. Like, you should immediately be suspicious, and you should immediately know that, hey, yes, the chances are actually kind of small that they bought this thing cash or that they actually fully own the thing themselves. You should already be suspicious, and with that in mind, you should be taking them down a few notches in your brain. And so it's kind of a thing of maybe we should inform the public more and give them more tools to be able to make these evaluations in their mind better. But yeah, I think that if you are wanting to have any sort of credibility for something like this, it's not enough to just post yourself with a car anymore. We're immediately jumping to the conclusion of you've rented it or it's a friend of yours, and if you're not jumping to that conclusion, then you need to level yourself up a little bit.
So I just want to actually loop this into more your approach, because literally right in the beginning, how you said like where you kind of had your success was before social media came. And I've said this basically whenever, like if you've come up in a conversation or stuff, and I've always said the biggest thing I have, like respect wise for you, is you never played the marketing game.
Yeah.
If you go to your social media now, it's not cars, it's not houses, it's education. It's things you give in to help a trader. If they came across your page, it's tips and tricks and little notes and things like that. When you like talk about these things now, was it something you thought about? Like, listen, I don't want to give that image. Or was there just more this approach of like, when I was like, okay, I'm going to start my social media presence now, this is what I want to give, and that's just it?
Look, I will say that it's more about what I'm comfortable with. I don't feel comfortable flexing any lifestyle that I potentially may or may not have. I don't feel comfortable with that. And not only that, I think that that's not the business I'm in. People conflate like the people that are lifestyle marketers with traders. They may as well be promoting Herbalife. It's the same thing, you know. They're
it's
affiliate marketers.
Product.
It's just a different product. They probably know less about trading than they do about Herbalife. You know what I mean? It's like it's one of those things. Like I didn't want that for myself, but also at the end of the day, I wanted to make sure that people understood that I prioritize trading first. And that's also something that I've recently realized, and a lot of people that follow me may have realized that I'm not posting as much as I used to. I'm not focusing on social media as much as I used to. I'm focusing on my own trading because that is the most important thing to me. The whole YouTube thing happened by mistake. I didn't mean to start a YouTube channel. In fact, the first video that I posted was essentially just me trying to show a few guys how to trade the strategy I was trading. And I thought, I'm busy doing it. I may as well like turn it into a YouTube video. Like I'm doing it. I may as well just like introduce it as like a YouTube video. And I did. And the audio didn't work on one side of your headphones. And it's in like a very low resolution. You can almost not see it, but it's got 170,000 views almost now.
Oh, really?
And it's that I got lucky in that sense. I didn't mean to like make YouTube an actual thing, but it turned into that. I'm like, okay, so this picked up some steam. Maybe I should invest some time and money into making it some more of a business, because that's what I am at the end of the day. I really like businesses, growing businesses, starting businesses. And that's what trading is for me at the end of the day. It's always has been like that. If I could, I would potentially, if I had to start all over again, I probably wouldn't go into trading because it's so stressful.
Yeah.
But I've realized, I'm firstly too far into it now, but I've also realized the potential of it.
The upside.
Yeah, and I mean, there is the upside to really, really make money, and in a very convenient way. And this is after I've gone through all of the most grueling parts of trading and like almost losing my mind literally because of it. But like you were saying, I first started to build momentum before I was public with any of the stuff that I posted on social media. And like I said, I literally did it by mistake to begin with. And so for me, it kind of happened by mistake. So there's a lot of people that jump into it for the wrong reason. They've got this momentum that started in a way that is disingenuous, and those kinds of people you need to be careful of. But like we say, a lot of people are in this middle ground of, okay, they had a really good moment, but now they're struggling and they're potentially faking stuff out, and they're just trying to maintain their car payment or whatever it is. And it's one of those things. But I think that at the end of the day, trading is the thing that needs to be focused on.
Yeah,
and that's
keep
what
the main thing.
That's what I focus on, and that's why I will stay away as far as I can from posting lifestyle stuff. I mean, okay, when I make milestones in my life, I'm going to potentially post them, because just mainly, to be honest, as an FU to all those people that doubted me before, not to motivate and maintain my lifestyle with marketing, but essentially, and again, that's actually my main motivation, to be honest, with trying to strive to do well in trading. And there was a lot of people that doubted me, and I really had a really crap many years working really rubbish jobs, but I knew that I was going to do something special. And I knew that I was giving up this time now so that I could do something special later on. And a lot of people won't give you any notice until you actually make it. Not to say that I have, but they will initially just doubt you full on until you get to that point where you've got something to prove. And they're like, I knew you'd do it. And I'm like, no, you didn't say that.
But I think it's also like we said before the stream, if you are genuinely going to be authentic, people are going to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
People can feel it. It's that thing you can sense the bullshit very quickly. You can sense bullshit. Ethan, we're getting to the tail end of the podcast, and big thing with any trader, and I think we all traders, and it's always before we go, what is that piece of advice you can give a trader? What is that maybe that nudge into a certain direction? Because ultimately that's why people consume content. They're always looking for, maybe there's a little nugget, golden nugget that Ethan can share, or maybe just a little light bulb moment. Any tips, tricks, advice you can give to the listeners and the guys watching?
Essentially, a lot of people like to focus a lot on psychology around trading, which is important. But I believe that actually, and this is why I focus a lot about it on my channel, strategy is a lot of the legwork behind trading, because if you don't have a solid strategy to base your psychology off of, then you've really got no foundation to build on, because the strategy is kind of like your groundwork for maintaining and building that psychology. If there is a psychological issue that you're having, you can often remedy it by modifying your strategy. And so finding a strategy that works for you and your psychology is already a lot of the problem solved for a lot of people. So if you're able to do that through trial and error, or by whatever means you need to, going through YouTube, meeting people that are trading and actually successful, then you've already won a lot of the battle. So I think that if you focus on that, it's a good place to start. And then after that, working on the psychology to kind of refine that strategy. I think that a lot of people focus on the wrong things. And that's not to say that obsessing about strategy and strategy hopping is a thing that you should do. But I do think that actually trading a lot of different strategies and figuring out which one works best for you can set you up for success. And that's essentially something that I learned. There's a fine line between trial and error and then strategy hopping. And then once you find something that works, just refining it as much as possible. I think that a lot of people get those two concepts mixed up.
Keeks, any closing remarks from you?
No. Well, I mean, I must just say, it's been actually awesome having Ethan on. Been very, very insightful, but at the same time, again, I think the key thing for us was, as traders, and whether you want to become a content creator, influencer, anything like that, is that authenticity. People are always going to see through it. If you want to be a trader, and I think we've spoken about it before, if you honestly do want to get into trading, have a passion for it. Because if you're going to chase the money, you're going to bump your head. You're going to be it for the wrong reasons. Because when you got that passion, that's where you can do it bumping your head. That's where you can go do the back testing. You can go do the trial and error. You can do the sleepless nights. And you'll keep coming back to find that way. Yeah. Because you love it. So again, I think just be real with yourself, and in doing that, find that real reason why you want to be in this industry.
Guys, another great episode with Ethan Garland. Ethan, I just want to thank you so much, man. I think in terms of following, you may be one of the bigger guys we've had on the show, and really want to say thank you for affording us your time today. And yeah, looking forward to maybe doing something else. If you're in our neck of the woods, please let us know.
For sure.
And yeah, it's also good building up the report with you and that network. I think it's something that's needed in SA for legitimate guys to build a stronger network, similar to in the US. The US have like a nice band of brothers, and it's that thing of we always say at the top you don't compete, like you need to collaborate, and that is eventually where we want to get to with everything. Like there's enough viewers for your channel, there's enough viewers for our channel. It's not like your channel needs to do bad for our channel to do good. Like we were on Top Trader SA, and I told him like they're close to 100k, and I said you haven't even captured like a small piece of South Africa if you just look at the population, and you think like, oh damn, I've got 100k subscribers, where am I going to get more? But the market's so big, and the audience is so wide, so there's place for everybody to shine under the sun. So again, guys, just want to thank Ethan Garland. Ethan, where can guys find you? Where's the best place to find you?
Probably Instagram, garland.trader, or just YouTube, Garland Trader.
Golden Trader. Guys, we'll also have Ethan's Instagram handle in the description of this video, also his YouTube channel in the description, and you can also see it here on the screen at the bottom. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next one. Peace.